Okay, I know it's a weird setup, but we're going to talk about Wonka. Hello, darlings. Welcome to Performance Perspective, where we watch different performances and then we share our perspectives. If you're new here, hi, I'm Carolyn, but you can call me Care. And today we're talking about Wonka. Now listen, your thoughts and your perspectives matter, So go ahead, comment if you saw it, if you're not going to see it, why, or whatever it is. The point is that we should be able to talk about art and also be kind to other people. And it's okay if people disagree with me or people disagree with you. It's fine. So anyways, let's get into my thoughts about Wonka. In short, do I recommend this movie? No. To me, it's not really worth to go into theaters and pay to watch it. When it's on a streaming service or whatever, yeah, go for it. I think the kids would enjoy it. But let's go ahead and I'll try to go through each sort of like chapter of it. So let's start with storyline. Did I like the story? I'm not mad at the story. I think it was fine. I think it was interesting as far as looking at Wonka of how did Wonka get started selling chocolates. There were a couple twists and turns. There was a big twist in it, which I caught it right away. And for those, I would love to know if people caught the twist right away if you are a fan of the Gene Wilder movie. If you saw my episode of my first impressions of Wonka, which was the trailer, I was like, it was a bad date, where in my head I was like, I didn't like it, but I'll see where this goes kind of thing. And so when I went into the theater, I was like, okay, we are not going to compare Gene Wilder to, Timothy Chalamet. And then it got started and I was like, oh, wait, no, they are basing this Wonka on the Gene Wilder movie. My big thing about this movie was based on performance. So back to the storyline, there were things I was wrong about the trailer. Yes, I might be spoiling things here. And it was with Key's character, who is like one of the cops and whatever. And I will say in the movie, I assumed that, oh, he's getting fatter because he's obsessed with Wonka's chocolates. And that wasn't the case. And how they written his character, I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting. And I enjoyed it. I want to call him Zazu or Mr. Bean, who plays the priest. He was great. Okay, see, I'm already jumping into the performance of it. I'm trying to stick to the storyline. Also, side note, isn't it interesting that Key, to me, he's kind of like the new James Corden, where he's in so many of these movie musicals. He's in Schmigadoon. So that I'm starting to feel a little like, okay, Key, let's cool it with these musicals, because not all of his musical performances are that great and whatever. But he did do a good job in this movie, I'll say. The music, was not good in my books. It wasn't like horrible or anything, but now I did do an episode on this that the director was saying this is not a musical, which I think actually hurt him. How he thinks of musicals is it's a story with music in it. And if you're a musical theater fan, you understand like, no, musicals is like why a person starts singing is when talking is not enough. And so it's usually driven by a certain emotion on why they start singing. And so it's interesting to find that within the character and to find the right song for them to get into and stuff like that. And it showed. I would say that the music, I was finding myself getting annoyed with it at times because it was literal. And it was almost the best way I can describe it. It was like a GPS system where it was like, what I am singing is literally what you're seeing. So an example I can use is Wonka's intro, where he's on the ship coming to, the opportunity to sell chocolate and all this stuff. And whatever he is singing is literally happening. Like, so an example is he sings like, my shoes being wet because of being on the boat. And then it shows someone with a bucket of water accidentally throwing the water on his shoes. To me, I was like, wait, I think what could have been fun in doing this is that I think something about Wonka's character that they were trying to do was to show how he looks at things positively, and he's like, like everything's gonna go my way. And I think if the lyrics were more about him, like everything is going right, everything is good, but as an audience you're seeing everything is going wrong, so you already know that the expectations of what's going to happen to him is low, but you can understand and learn quickly about his character. So I wish they played more with the music. I will get into, like I said, I think my big thing I'm going to be talking about is performance. So why wait? Let's get into it. This is the best way I can describe all the Wonkas in a weird way. If Wonka was like a multiverse, right? Timothée Chalamet's Wonka is Wonka growing up with no father. The Johnny Depp one is Wonka growing up with no mother, and the Gene Wilder one is Wonka growing up with no parents at all. That's how I see it. So when going into watching this, I was like, okay, I'm not trying to come in with like certain expectations and stuff. If anything, whenever I go see a movie, if I didn't like the trailer, I think to myself, I hope I'm wrong. I really do want to keep rooting for these movie musicals, but I also want to be honest about where they could have done better. So the movie musicals are, like there's going to be a lot of them coming out. Like it is the thing. It will always be the thing. And so to me, I feel like my videos is hopefully guiding them of like, this is why this worked. This is why this didn't work. Performance-wise, when looking at the Wonkas, I was not going to compare Chalamet with Gene Wilder. And I was like, well, because who knows, they might be more inspired by the book and things like that. Take Matilda, for example. The movie and the musical are different because the movie is based on the book and the musical said, we are basing this on the book as well. I hope it makes sense. I was like, I'm not going to compare Chalamet and Wonka. I'm not going to do that. Like, you love how I called Gene Wilder the Wonka. I was like, no, we're just going to go in and whatever. And then I was watching and I was like, no, they are definitely taking the 1970s movie. Like that is the prequel to that movie. So then I was like, all right. Timothée Chalamet, he is a great performer. I'm not here to say like he was awful, but so I really do want to understand what he was thinking with this character. Because the way I see Wonka is, I don't see Wonka as someone that's positive or anything like that. But then I'm like, well, you know what? This is him younger. Maybe he felt a certain way. But the thing about Wonka I thought was so interesting was, to me, he's odd. And the way he sees things is what makes him a genius. So I did appreciate that. I appreciated whenever Wonka was like, oh, we're going to put, this ingredient and this ingredient. But I liked the idea when the ingredient seemed attainable. Like when he was like, oh no, it has Yeti sweat in it. Or, oh, I need milk. I need giraffe milk. Those kind of things, I was like, wow, that's interesting. But then when he was like, I have a bit of rain in here. And also, I wanted to be a magician. And I was like, I don't know why I just did not see that for Wonka. He's someone that enjoys experimenting kind of thing. Not like, now you see it, now you don't. This is how I truly feel. He's not a bad performer. I think he was guided poorly. And I think as far as them working on who is this Wonka, I think that it was sort of surface level and there wasn't some sort of like deeper connection between these Wonkas. And yeah, so I'll say that. I will say I did love the protagonists, not the three chocolatiers, which, let's be honest, why is it they all of a sudden look like they belonged in Hogwarts, where Wonka was Gryffindor, and then you can see he's against Slytherin, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff. Like, I was like, what in the Hogwarts is happening here? They're supposed to be the protagonists, and they were like forgettable. But Olivia Colman and her partner and stuff, they were great. I was like, wow, I loved the humor between them. Also, Olivia Colman actually scared me. She was giving me Trunchbull vibes. Like, I was like, whoa, she really is like a bad person. And I appreciated that because I feel that a lot of movies will be like, this is the villain, but they're misunderstood. And to me, sometimes I'm like, no. They suck. Like, I just want that. So I thought that those two in charge of the laundromat, which I thought was smart, that they are running a laundromat. It makes sense to me. And the helpers, I'll say, as far as the people that helped Wonka, it was interesting as far as what their positions were and why their positions ends up to be so helpful as far as what Wonka needed to get started. They were okay. They have a song called Scrub Scrub, which again, it's literal. It's like what they do as far as taking care of things in the laundromat. And I was like, this is your opportunity to, they could still be cleaning saying scrub, scrub, but that could have been the time that we learn even more about these characters. The thing that we learned about them right away as far as their positions was them talking before the song. And I was like, you know that you could have actually put it in the song, and how what their previous positions were goes into like, this is what I was like, and now I'm like, this is how I got into the laundromat and why we're stuck here kind of thing. I did catch on to a lot of the twists because if you are a fan of the movie, I would say there were things in it where I was like, wait a minute, how is this possible? But if the kids haven't seen the movie, they probably don't see this twist coming. Oh my gosh, my favorite, where I was like, oh, I just want more, was Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa. I was in the theater. There was only one other person in that theater. I don't know. He was just so funny to me. He has great delivery. I really do love what they did with, I loved his timing in a lot of the things. And when he did have a song, it did feel like it was correct for him to sing these songs. Also, he had a great way of, when someone is singing and then there's someone talking to them, he was so good at that, where, Wonka may be singing, but it turns into like a conversation, or he'll say something which propels him to sing. And that song was pure imagination. I wanted more of him. And he was a huge highlight for me.
What is it?
Nothing.
Well, it's obviously something because you said, huh.
Huh.
Oh, you did it again. Tell me what it is or I shall poke you quite viciously with a cocktail stick.
When they did Pure Imagination, I will say this. That was when I was like, wow, this musical theater makes sense. I thought the way that he used his voice was beautiful. And I was like, okay, like, it's near the end of the movie and they finally got it right. So if someone was like, oh, it was pure imagination, then to you might be like, oh wow, there's so many things that could be pure imagination. But based on what they used it, you would go, oh, this makes sense, as far as this is what Wonka would imagine in different parts of this song. Another one I was like, okay, I don't even remember the song, but I really did enjoy how they shot it. And it was Willy Wonka, which I thought was interesting, was he would be dressing up as different things in the citizens. So he would be a waiter here, and then he would be, like himself here, or he would be the trolley conductor guy. And to me that made sense because he had to go undercover as far as selling his chocolate. And I thought the way that he sold this chocolate, and it's like, that was the thing about Wonka. It wasn't about how it tasted. It was how it made you feel. And the type of chocolate he was selling, I was like, this makes sense as far as, and okay, let me just get to it. The first chocolate he sells, I am spoiling it, by the way. The first chocolate he sells has everyone floating. And to me, I'm like, I don't care how bad the chocolate is. The fact that people are flying and everybody in the world is like, oh, no, like no one cares about that. To me, that was a certain chocolate that I think should have come in later, or the only chocolate that him and his friend Noodle try to escape and they float to the top kind of thing. Not where everyone tries it. And it's like, so we're just going to ignore that people were flying and everyone's like cool with it? Like, what? When it was something like, this will make you feel big and make you feel confident, I was like, I can absolutely get with that, as far as, you know, him saying this will help your hair grow, this will do this. And I was like, yes, because those to me are like gimmicks that people would get into versus one that was shocking, which is like you could float. So I did enjoy that song and how they had it on how he was going to different places and hiding from the police and how the friends were helping him. That to me was a great musical theater moment within the movie. I think that's about it as far as like my thoughts about Wonka. I know it is everywhere and stuff, but I don't recommend it. Like, it isn't worth it to me to go see it in theaters and stuff. It is something where I'm like, if you got kids, yeah, they'll enjoy it and it's fine. But if you are a musical theater fan, no, I don't think this is it. Like, they could have done better. And like I said, there were things that I was like, that was perfect. And then the majority of it, I was like, what a disappointment. Anyways, darlings, I would love to know your perspective. And have you seen it? Are you planning on seeing it? And yeah, because you know what? Your opinion does matter. Just be kind to others that may disagree, because it's okay, because it's an art, okay? So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. And without further ado, take care, darling.